It's Friday at 3 o'clock in Washington. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and watching us on the replay. My name is Robert Turner, and this is our weekly Friday GovCon Roundtable, where we gather as a group of consultants and GovCon experts to talk about issues relative to growing a small business in the government contracting marketplace. Today with me is Josh Duvall, who's an attorney with offices in Washington and Florida. Glenn Robinson, who's a business owner and consultant in Virginia, as well as my good friend Kathy Lentz from her wonderfully cozy office in Charlottesville. Our friend Joe DiPrenzio is off for the week, so here we go. And our topic today is small business BD fundamentals. How can you make good use of the time that you've got as a qualified small business or as a member of the 8A program or during the time that you've got before you graduate into the large business pool to grow your business in the way that you envision to hit your growth targets. We've all who have been doing this business a while, we've seen what works, what doesn't work. We see a lot of people repeating some of the same mistakes, and so our hope is that through this discussion we can be of service to BD execs and small business owners who are looking to grow their firm. So I thought I'd kick off our discussion with maybe a question that deals with some of the things not to do. So as I was thinking about this, I thought, what are some of the top 3 to 5 mistakes that we see small business owners making over and over again when they're in that kind of early growth stage, maybe $3 to $5, $7 million? What do we see them kind of doing over and over again that if we had the opportunity, or if anybody who had experience had the opportunity to sit down with that business owner and say, these are the things you don't want to do, what would some of those things be? Glenn, Kathy, any immediate things come to mind?
2 things. One is, do not rely on just the government subscription series. A lot of times that is outdated, and it trains the BDs to sit at their desk rather than go out and find the work. The second is failure to develop a strong pipeline and the commitment to have step reviews, which makes a lot of the firms start just responding to proposals willy-nilly. Meaning, hey, we just got this, it's due in 30 days, 2 weeks, or 7 days, let's go for it. If there's only 3 bidders, we have a 33% chance of winning. And then they don't know why they have a high turnover rate followed by a lot of losses. So 2 things. Be disciplined about pipeline and step reviews, and second, do not rely solely on the government subscription services.
Those are both great, Glenn. And so you talk about the step reviews a little bit. So I know what you're not saying is you don't need to adopt the same kind of program that somebody like Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman is using, right? It doesn't have to be long and onerous and bureaucratic, something that chokes your organization. So what does a good step review pipeline type program look for a small business where resources are limited and people are wearing multiple hats?
I would recommend doing the set same time each week or every other week to have step review on, say, Department of Interior Help Desk, for instance. First week it's telling everyone what it is. But then 2 weeks from now, the BDs has to have had major contact with both the agency, find out who the competitors are, who the teaming partners might be, and then from then on, every 2 weeks or so, have a step review concerning that opportunity. If it's way out, then it could be every month. But if it's if they just find out about it and the proposal is due in 2 weeks, don't bid it. It's not winnable. Now, if it's just a 2 or 3 person opportunity, then that's different. But, 80 to 100 FTEs, you got to plan, you got to do step review.
Yeah.
With actionable items, accountability, which means that at the step review, if there's 20 action items, the person or people have to be held accountable by the boss.
That's good. That's good. Kathy, I know your clients live this dream every week. What's your perspective on this topic?
We're talking about small businesses.
Yep.
Okay, they're not going to do step reviews. What I found that works best, and even if large businesses or medium-sized businesses, what happens is somebody in leadership will see something, like you said, a bluebird, and send it down and go, I really want to bid on this. And so what I find works better, it's a bid, no bid sheet that everybody gets. Leadership, unless you can fill out this bid, no bid sheet and give me a rationale to even look at it. And then what happens, guess what? Leadership doesn't send you anything anymore. They don't want to do any work. But I usually use the bid, no bid sheet for what I call the bluebirds, because you're absolutely right, they're bluebirds. I also say if you see something and you're really interested and it says there's no incumbent, you should call the contract officer. Because I have seen things where there's no incumbent, and I called the contract officer and they said, this just popped up. Nobody knows about it. Nobody's met us. And I passed on to my client and they did it and they won. So I wholeheartedly agree. You've got to have some process. But when I think of a step review, I think of a PowerPoint presentation with all this stuff filled in. And I just can't seem to get Smalls to do it. So what we use is a bid, no bid sheet. And it works really well because it's one page. It does exactly what a step review does. It asks those same questions.
Well, yeah, that's a great point though, Kathy, just on that thing right there, right? Just on that thing right there. Because we really are, in some respects, we're talking about the same thing, right? Because a BD process needs to be tailored for the size of the organization, right? And I'm not necessarily, Glenn, like defending you against Kathy or anything. I'm trying to
organizations, it makes sense, but small, I just can't see it again.
Yeah. But I mean, a step review.
You can never have seen the customer and win things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the customer has nothing to do with the win. It is that contracting officer. They're the source evaluation official. So what I tell people is, because companies will come in, I got to go meet the customer. And I'm like, really? Really, you got to meet the customer? Good luck getting that. And I said, you know how many things I did where I've met the customer, they told me all these things, the proposal shows up, none of it's in there, I put it in there, and the contract officer goes, what the heck is this in here for? And so what I say is, to be able to have that customer relationship, get somebody on your team that works with this customer today and have them say, hey, I know you want me and, but I'm going to team with XYZ company and we're going to be, that's your way to get in front of the customer. But at the end of the day, your relationship is going to be dead, solid, strong with the contracting officer. Or if there's a COTAR in the middle of it. Sometimes there's a COTAR in the middle of it. You have to have that relationship. I've taken so much business in my past career away, and this is large contracts, away from incumbents who are beloved. There's no way they'll ever lose it. Their CPARs is great because I built a relationship with the contracting officer and the COTAR who told me they were looking for something different than what it was today. And this is what it was. So I think that when it comes to having a relationship with the customer, it doesn't have to be direct. It can be through. And then I've also helped a client win a deal where we kept trying to get with the contracting officer, but they were never available, never could get together. So what we did is we hired the program manager, the former program manager of the incumbent, to help us write the proposal and everything, and they won. They never visited the contract officer. They never moved, and they tried to get in, but nobody would let them in. So they just decided we'll just go and hire a former employee who ran the thing, and they won the deal, and they didn't have any business in that agency. So there's some nuances to it, but I agree with Glenn that as a rule, if something just pops up and you have done nothing, forget about it.
Well, if you've done nothing, if you know nothing, if you don't know anybody, if you've never done work in that agency, I mean, throw the thing away. I mean, you have to give yourself a really solid reason to bid, right? I think that's what we're all saying.
Yep, I agree with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that Joe and I were talking about, I know at least a week or so ago, or a couple of weeks ago, right in the middle of this whole pandemic problem we've got, is, I mean, this old idea that I have, and this is Kathy, some of what you were saying, I think, the idea that I have to meet with the customer. Uh, Meeting with the customer often now, just depending on the agency, is just not even possible. If you're not badged, if you don't have a contract in that agency, you can't walk the halls. The buildings are locked. You can't get somebody to, if you don't have a relationship, you can't get a meeting sponsored. I mean, and so, kind of to your point about winning things without having met the customer, sometimes meeting the customer is not even possible. Yeah. Glenn, thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting times that we're in right now, and that's certainly true. But I do know that a lot of govvies now are open to Zoom meetings, and I've reached a lot by phone over the last 3 to 4 weeks that normally be very hard to reach.
So it's changing a little bit in your experience?
It's changing a little bit, and people under 40 don't seem to know that the phones can be used to actually talk into them. So therefore, it's easier for people over 40 to actually talk to the execs. And,
Yeah.
So more power to us, old folks.
That's right.
But what Kathy was saying is getting to know the CO and the co-stars, very, very important.
Yeah.
A lot of the small firms just do not understand that importance of a relationship.
That's right. Okay, so let's. How about this idea? Here's a scenario. You've got a small business. Maybe they're an 8A, maybe they're not. Maybe they're service disabled, maybe they're not. They're 3 to 5 million in revenue, mostly subcontracts, maybe 1 or 2 directed awards from people they knew. What do you recommend to that business owner as a strategy to help them win their first solid 10 to 15 person prime contract? They've never done it before. What do you tell them?
Well, what I've done and tell people is to keep vigilant on opportunities with teaming partners. When I was with Centuri Corporation, we had our first win because the large business partner that we were been tagged with was requested by TSA to do something. They didn't have the time or space. They said, just carve that off and wire it for Centuria. And that's what happened. The second one that we won was down to the VA. And that was because I called the program office on a regular basis. And in that case, he goes, look, I'll award to 2 small businesses. I keep track of the phone calls. You were the only one that called me more than 3 times. Therefore, we're going to give it to you. We had a bid, of course.
Wow.
And we little old Centuria, which had just a few people, we beat out SAIC, who also bid on it. And so that was exciting. That was the first prime contract in the firm's 9-year history.
Wow.
And, so for me, it was relationship building, a lot of phone calls, and staying in touch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I mean, Kathy, we've talked about that a lot as well, right? Then that goes back to your earlier comment about relationships.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you saying they've never won any federal business?
No.
They've never won anything as a prime.
They've never won anything as a prime. Everything they've got is either been sole sourced or it's a subcontract. And now they're trying to figure out how to compete.
Okay, so what I tell people is, first of all, you got to focus down to no more than 2 agencies and focus where you are. Because, okay, you've been doing sub business because past performance is everything to these federal government agencies. And then focus where you've got the contract vehicles. because you might want to prime, but if you don't have the contract vehicles in this day and age, you can't prime. So look at the agency that has the contract vehicles that you have, where you've done business, and focus there, because you're more credible to the agency and you're more credible to partners if you are already there doing business versus this is brand new. And the other thing I say is bring on partners who know the customer. Team with partners who know the customer, and do it right away. Like, don't wait. You know, a lot of companies just wait till the last month or two and everybody's gone, you know? The other thing I also say is look for subject matter experts to help you. Former government employees who are in the customer to hire to help you. Former incumbents, if there's a recompete, former employees of the incumbent who've gone someplace where they can't bid it, but they can help you. So to prime, it's a whole different model than just sitting on a team and hoping that
answering a data call. Right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Hiring folks who used to work in that agency, reaching out to consultants who know that agency.
Yeah, actually, I've also helped a lot of companies no bid because of that. Like, there was an opportunity that came out of Coast Guard just recently. My clients done nothing in Coast Guard. They've done defense, Department of Defense, but on Coast Guard, they wanted to prime it. So we reached out to a guy who used to head up the whole organization within Coast Guard. Not the Coast Guard, but it was an organization within Coast Guard. Turns out the guy created the program, hired the first company, the incumbent, rehired the second incumbent, had a relationship, hired the program manager on the whole thing who was still there, kept a relationship with them. We ended up no bidding because he said, here's all the things. He went through all the things on how the company that won. And by the time he got done, he goes, well, we can't do that. That's not what we're going to do. Because what it was a low-cost shootout, and it's just not who we are. So sometimes what that does, by hiring somebody that is the former customer, they'll help you no bid it and increase your win probability because you're getting rid of a dog.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm working with even a large business right now that can't say no. Big multi-hundred person task order, and they just can't say no, and they've got every reason to believe that it's wired for an incumbent, but they can't say no. And it's been my experience, Glenn, I see you smiling, I'm sure you've seen this as well. Being able to say, what is that old business adage? The mark of a mature business is when you have the discipline and the knowledge and maturity to walk away from bad business. And, you know, at the end of the day, my perspective is we only all have so many hours to spend in the day to go after new business. And so it really doesn't even come down to the dollars, it comes down to the hours. How are we going to spend the hours that we have this day in the most effective way? And having the discipline to be able to say no, I think can make all the difference in the world, as long as you're then turning that around into positive action to say yes to the right things.
I agree, Robert. I sub to one of the major large on the Alliant, and they bid everything, and their philosophy is we're bound to win one someday. And they haven't won any. I don't foresee them winning anything. And it's a shame that they keep doing that. They won't do any step reviews. They just respond. A new one comes out tomorrow, they're going to respond to it. Even if they've had enough time to really figure out what will become on Alliant 2. They won't do it. They don't know how to do it. And it's sad to watch, but I no longer participate because it's a losing proposition.
Yeah.
It takes up my time.
Yeah.
Now, on the other, on the small side, where they have no BD sophistication, just the same, only they get the whole team involved, but they have a high turnover rate because they burn out some very high quality, very qualified people, but they will never ever do any advanced BD process. They actually think long-term BD process is 60 days out. So 60 days to then, that's long term. But they've gone from 30 million down to 15 million.
There you go. That's crazy. I mean, even in a task order environment like with an Alliant 2 GWAC, if you're not doing some kind of advanced work, 30 days is just not long enough, especially if you're taking a scattergun approach and bidding everything across a wide variety of industries, a wide variety of agencies. There's just too many variables. And you can't win. It's really disheartening and I think sad, to your point, to watch customers make the same mistakes over and over and not win from them. Unfortunately, our industry is filled with those kinds of examples.
Well, actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Because that's why they hire us. If everything was wonderful and perfect, they wouldn't need us. But the other thing about it too is, if you look at an organization, what's the one organization that constantly has a revolving door? It's BD. And then there's no BD processes within companies. It's the BD process is who's ever running BD at the time, then the new guy comes in or the president takes over. There's no process. At one point, I developed with Jim Guilfoyle, Robert. I developed. It was called CMM BD methodology, and you were rated based upon whether you had an actual process for each of these different things, how to do a pipeline, and how to team, and all these different things, and you became higher level in it based on what you did. And we actually created an assessment that we would come into any organization and we would assess, which is the lowest end would be you have nothing in place. The highest end means you're so successful, companies are coming to you. Actually, one of my clients, Accenture, who's a call center, started out when I first started with them 13 years ago, they were at the front end, nothing. Now they are at so everything's got such a process around it, and they've been following it for like 13 years that they are now getting people are coming to them. I mean, they've gotten so much business with this COVID-19 because people are coming to them. So, but that's the process. It's just revolving. I mean, I laugh because I have some large systems integrators and I've had them like 7 or 8 years. I can tell you right now, when I first got them and the process I follow now is like night and day. Because every couple of years, the person running BD leaves and the new guy comes in and he's got a whole different process. So that's what makes it tough.
Yeah. So that's good. So good process will help you when you're large. And, to Glenn's point, do a good step review, even when you're small, even if it's short, and make good, smart bid decisions, right? So that's good. Josh, chime in here a little bit and talk about how making good, smart use of legal counsel like you provide can really be of benefit to help some of these business owners grow their business in a smart way.
Thanks, Robert. I think there's more than one, I guess lawyers typically, I think a lot of folks when I talk to them, think of lawyers coming in after the fact to fix a problem, which is one aspect of the attorney-client relationship. But lawyers are also counselors and advisors. And, in the government contract space, there's a lot of nuance that that small businesses in particular would benefit from, even if it's just an echo of what their BD person is telling them. Sometimes hearing the same thing from a different perspective sort of hammers home, like, okay, I should probably do what my BD professional is telling me to do. And so there's the legal aspect. Some of it can be, team agreement related or joint venture related. I mean, look, if you're a small business and you're getting ready to hit your first prime, one thing that I've been talking to folks about more frequently now is given the way that a lot of these larger type of procurements are going, like not only are they like these best-in-class vehicles, but the way that they're structured, past performance, like Kathy was saying, is critical. And I think a lot of folks, when they win their first contract, they aren't really thinking about their CPAR, their future CPAR rating when they get the win, because they're excited about the win. But when you have these larger vehicles where they just assign a number to what your CPAR rating is, and it's like a GPA type scoring system, then if you have a strategic plan for where you want to be in 5 or 8 years down the road, and it's to get on a large vehicle where they're going to give you X amount of points for having an exceptional CPAR, then the first prime that you win, you need to set the tone right off the bat. And likewise, there's a lot of some contractors have a method of, I'm getting in this because I know I want to have either an event like a merger or a sale. They want to have an exit event or a liquidity event down the road. And so they're also thinking about where they want to be in terms of, like, if their NAICS code is predominantly revenue based, how do they get the most out of staying a small business for longer? And so forecasting when larger or IDIQs are coming down the pipe earlier in the process might say, hey, look, like, I might need to think about JVing a couple of opportunities with a mentor, because I want to make sure that I'm still technically a small business for that one huge opportunity that I know is coming down the pike 3 or 4 years down the road. Now, obviously, if you're in that position and you're a small business, you're sort of advanced, I would imagine, because now you're thinking about a $16.5 million or a $27.5 million NAICS code, or 30 million now. But for the folks at the very beginning, I think it helps to have not only the counsel from the BD aspect, but to be thinking about what it looks like 5 years from now. I mean, if you talk to Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, he's not thinking about what should I be doing today. He's thinking about 3 to 5 years down the road, what the company's going to look like. And it's the dual hat of a CEO or whoever's the owner or the president of a small business, that not only are they thinking about what do I have to do to survive now, to win contracts now, but they need to take that hat off and then put the other strategic hat on and think 5 years from now, where do I want to be and how do I get there? So that's, without sort of going into the minutia of lawyering and having to create documents and all the contracts that are necessary, and maybe protests or things like that. But some of the other things that come up are some compliance issues related to size or CPARs. I mean, you could challenge a CPAR rating, good luck, because they're going to tell the contracting officer to redo it. They're not going to direct the contracting officer to give you the highest rating. They can't do that.
Right.
And so,
that's good stuff, Josh. That's good stuff.
It's challenging. I mean, government contracting
it
is
is.
complex.
I mean, that's why we're all here, right? It's a challenging business we're in, but that's good. Staying focused on delivering after award, going for those high CPAR ratings, making sure you knock those out of the park. I mean, we're seeing that more and more. If you want to slot on Oasis, if you want to slot on the next set of GSA GWACs downstream as your business grows, all of those now are going scorecard related. CIOSP4 is going scorecard related. GSA Astro, Oasis, Alliant, all these things, right? You need. And the number one thing on Alliant and the number one thing on Oasis was past performance. How was your CPARs rated? And everybody who knocked the ball out of the park in terms of the scoring, what they did it by selecting contracts where the past performance rating, the CPARs rating, was a 4.75 to 5 in that very high range. So your points are well taken. Your points are well taken. Well, as we kind of wrap up today's episode, I appreciate everybody's time. Glenn, what'd you see on the protest front this week? Anything fun, noteworthy, or amusing that you saw on the protest wagon?
Yeah, well, one firm was late in their submission, so they protested, and tried to claim that it was not their fault.
Good,
but
good,
they
good.
have hand delivered the proposal to the wrong person in the wrong floor and tried to claim it was not their fault.
Not my
That
fault.
was probably, probably that was probably the funniest.
That's crazy.
Two firms actually protested against the Army, and this actually validated why we have lawyers, because in both cases, GAO said, yeah, Army clearly messed up royally, egregiously so. And one was an Alaskan Native Corporation, and the other one was a Herndon-based small business, and GAO basically booted Army. It was a bad faith effort that there could be an OIG investigation because it was so flawed.
Oh no.
So,
Oh no, that's awful.
one was funny, humorous. The other two, for the Army, very serious lawyers to protect us.
Yeah. Well, egregious mistakes are still being made, so it's good to see somebody push back on them and did it in the right circumstance. Kathy, did we learn anything new relative to CIOSP4 this week?
No, nothing new.
Yep, nothing new. Folks are still looking at teaming, and teaming still seems to be the popular topic as we.
Well, I think everyone's waiting for the scorecard.
Right.
You can't team until you know how you're going to score, because who do you team with? So I think everyone's waiting for that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, anything final from anybody? I think that's a wrap for today. We're coming in under budget. We had normally gone an hour, but I think we'll cut this one a little bit short and give everybody some time back. Josh, any final good wishes for the weekend or for the week coming?
Well, I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. I know this is a Memorial Day weekend coming up here, and take time on Monday or at any time or point during the weekend and just think, we're pretty blessed to have what we've got going on because of the sacrifices of some others that wore the uniform. So I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. I'm wearing red in honor of those who are deployed, including my youngest son, who is an electrician on board the USS Eisenhower somewhere around the world, along with the Carrier Strike Group 10. So we do look forward to remembering those who have made our freedom possible. We do live, even with our challenges, in the greatest nation the world has ever known. Glenn, any final comments?
Final comments is develop the discipline to develop a pipeline. 60 days is short term, not long term. Learn for like Line 2, what was in the Line 1. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but be disciplined in your approach. Thanks.
Very good. That's great. Kathy, anything final as we wrap up?
No, I agree on that pipeline. You got to have a process on pipeline, and I always tell people you have 4 different pipeline reports you look at. You look at your recompetes pipeline, you look at your new must-win pipeline, you look at your by RFP date pipeline. You have to, and then your leads. Those are the 4 different lists you look at. And leads are things that you haven't decided you're going to go after yet. You've got more information you got to find out before it becomes an opportunity. And if you just switch between those, and do it every week, you'll be there. But if you don't do that, things fall through the cracks. People get busy. And
Yeah.
I always believe in Salesforce, and the CRM system's got to be Salesforce. I am on so many different CRM systems. They're horrible. Spend the money, get Salesforce thing. to use because it has all the activities, all the follow-up. You can organize all these different reports. All these other systems are just, can't do it, and it's a mess.
Okay, there you go. Now you heard it from the expert, everybody. Spend the money, get Salesforce, and build that discipline into your business. Everybody, thanks so much for your time today. This has been a great discussion. We'll keep it going next week, Lord willing, and wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Robert.